Why do some people apologize easily for the smallest thing? Bumping into a stranger, being 2 minutes late, forgetting to reply to a text, while others would rather lose the relationship entirely than say sorry. It seems like such a small phrase to withhold at such a high cost. Nietzsche believed the answer lives not in stubbornness itself, but in how a person relates to their own weakness, and what admitting fault actually threatens to expose underneath. Question 1. Is it really about pride? Partly, yes. But pride is only the visible surface of something deeper. Underneath it is often a quiet, deeply buried fear that admitting fault doesn't just mean acknowledging one mistake, it means confirming, once and for all, that they are, in some core way, not good enough. For a person built on that fear, one small apology can feel like opening a door they've spent years keeping shut. Question 2. Why does an apology feel like losing? For a fragile identity, being wrong isn't a single, containable event that happens and then passes. It's a verdict, a permanent judgment about who they fundamentally are. Saying, "I was wrong," doesn't register to them as ordinary accountability. It registers as confirming their worst, most secret fear about themselves, the one they've built their entire personality around avoiding. Question 3. Does this mean they don't feel guilt? Not necessarily. And this is the part people often get wrong. Many chronic non-apologizers feel guilt intensely, sometimes more intensely than people who apologize easily. They simply can't tolerate showing it, can't bear to let that vulnerability surface where someone else might see it. So the guilt doesn't disappear. It transforms into defensiveness, into distance, into blame quietly redirected back at you. Question 4. Why do they often act like nothing happened? Avoidance in this context becomes a survival strategy. If they never name the wrong out loud, never put words to it, in their mind, it never quite becomes fully real. Silence becomes a way of erasing the event entirely, rather than facing what it would mean to actually sit with it. Question 5. What did Nietzsche say about this kind of strength? He drew a sharp distinction between true strength and what he called the morality of the weak. A defensive posture that looks like power from the outside, performs confidence convincingly, but is actually built entirely around self-protection. Refusing to apologize isn't strength in the way it might appear. It's armor, carefully constructed, worn so consistently the person wearing it may have forgotten it's even there. Question 6. How does this pattern usually show up in everyday life? It rarely looks dramatic. It looks like a conversation that quietly changes subject right before an apology should arrive. It looks like, "I guess I upset you," instead of, "I was wrong." It looks like gifts or favors offered in place of acknowledgement, a kind of unspoken trade meant to restore peace without ever naming what actually happened. Question 7. So what do you do if you're the one still waiting? Stop waiting for a moment that may never arrive. An apology you have to extract, beg for, or wait years for isn't healing when it finally comes. It's just another form of control, another instance of the relationship operating entirely on their timeline and their comfort. Recognizing that doesn't mean giving up on the relationship necessarily, but it does mean releasing your own peace from depending on something you cannot force into existence. Question 8. Is there any hope for someone like this to change? Sometimes, but only if they become willing to face the fear underneath the armor, which usually requires more self-awareness than most people are given credit for, or are even ready to access on their own. You cannot do that work for them, no matter how clearly you explain it or how patiently you wait. Question 9. What about partial apologies, the ones that almost count? And it's worth adding this. Some people will eventually apologize, years later, once enough distance has made the admission feel safer to make. That delayed apology can be meaningful, but it shouldn't be required for you to have already moved forward with your own life in the meantime. Watch for the difference between, "I'm sorry you feel that way," and "I'm sorry I did that." The first protects their self-image while appearing to concede something. The second actually takes ownership. Learning to hear that difference clearly can save you years of mistaking performance for accountability. Final thought. People who never apologize aren't telling you they don't care about what they did. They're telling you, in the only language they currently have, how afraid they are of their own reflection. Understanding that won't fix them, and it isn't your job to, but it will free you from carrying their unfinished business as if it were somehow yours to resolve.